Hi, this is Everett, Everett's Watercolors. Welcome to my classroom. Now I'm broadcasting from Chesapeake, Virginia. This is to give a classroom lesson today. Gloria, my wife, is in the studio with me. She's helping me monitor comments and questions and so forth, and also monitoring the broadcast. So I want to welcome you all aboard. What today I'm going to do is I'm going to give you a lesson on drawing, and then I'm going to show you my painting steps, planning steps also. I'm going to go from a concept of different shapes, and I'm going to show you how to develop a unique painting and how I go about that. So I think this is very interesting for again a little drawing exercise, which everyone needs as an artist. You need to draw and to become a better artist, and then to apply that to a painting to come up with a good composition. So I'm going to take you over to my painting board, and so we can get started. Okay, the shapes I picked up today, my classroom is about drawing and about painting leaves. And so I thought I'd show you what I do. I go out into nature almost as often as I can when the weather permits. And I'm always a leaf collector. And you can see here, I pick up different leaves. And what I do is I take a leaf that I find and I put it into a plastic bag. This is a little zip top bag with a piece of paper towel to dry it out. But then it keeps it nice and flat. And when it dries out, I've had this one this is probably 6 or 7 years old. So once you save it, you can preserve the shapes in a bag like this and use them for your art. And I use this a lot. Here's another example of a larger leaf. You can see how big that one is. Look at a beautiful shape. And here's some examples of some more. Same thing. Put them into into a sheet protector with a paper towel. Same idea, to preserve the leaf for down the road. Let's see. And I have one more. I want to show you one more. This is one more I'm going to use, and this one here is another. Look at a pretty shape. So they don't retain the color, of course. This one here keeps a little bit of the color that retained, but most of them will dry out and turn brown and so forth. But you still have the shape, and that's what we really want as an artist. We want an interesting shape in which to draw or paint. What I thought I'd do today is to show you a little bit about how I go about drawing, and I use the concept of contour drawing. So let me show you here. What I have here is that leaf I showed you before, and I printed this out on a piece of copy paper right here so I can look at it. And what I've got this. I'm going to set this up. Okay, I've got this up on. I've got two cameras here now. One on the left here, I've got the leaf, and the one on the right, I've got my second camera is I've got on my drawing pad. Is what I'm going to do here is, as I look at the leaf itself, I'm going to draw the shape and show you how I go about that. When I talk about contour drawing, what I mean is get the basic shape down first. So what I do here, taking the pencil, starting at the top of the leaf, I mark a point, and I look at the size of the side. And I don't look at the actual pieces of it. I look at the size. So I'm going to start drawing that down, and then I see that the angle changes. And then I look at this side over here. Not worrying about the edges yet. I'm not looking at edges. I'm just looking at the shape and the size. It goes down here. I'm comparing the sizes. And then it goes into this direction. And this is where the stem is. And then this comes out this way. And then it goes up. About the same angle, the same distance as the other side. So I'm looking at this angle over here. And then it comes in. And then it goes up a little bit. So I've got a little jag, and then it goes straight up to the point again. So that's the contour of that shape. Okay, so that's really the first step. Anything you draw, it doesn't matter if you're outside drawing a house or a barn or a tree, or you're inside doing a still life. If you're doing flowers or you're doing a vase or something like that, you would start with. Let me turn my overhead light on. Maybe I'll see what I'm doing here. Okay. Doesn't matter what the subject matter is. You start out with a basic outline, a contour drawing. And then you can go back in as you look at your shape now. I can go back in, start here, and now I can go in and do the edges. And I love to draw these because they got these nice curves. This one, this side here. So I'm really following the edges now. Now I'm putting in the actual design of the leaf edges. And that's when I can put in the curves and the edges and the sharp points and so forth. I have the stem come down here as I'm here. I'll just add the stem in as I go. Then I come down here. This has a little more bend to it, not straight line. It's like a curved line, and it comes out to a point. It has a nice curve here. That's why I love drawing leaves, because they have such different angles. Every leaf is different. It's almost like an individual. It's just like each leaf has its own DNA. It's a different identity with each leaf. And I come in here. I go up to this point here, and look at those curves. I love these curves. It comes up little scallops, and then it comes out to that point, and I can make that point here. So now I have my leaf, and I can also draw in it always has veins in it, so you can take a look at the veins. So when you draw something like this, you also want to study the characteristics, and it has veins in here which goes out. So it's kind of identifies the detail of that particular subject. Okay, so let's take another one. We won't stop there. Let's continue on. Now this one here has an interesting shape also. And what I thought I'd do, I'd pick this one up here. This one here, it's a little bit longer and slender. And what I'll start here is, again, I'll start with the contour. So it has a long, slender body, a long, slender shape. So I'll start at the top. And it has, let's say, an angle like that. Watch out for the stem here. I'll come over a little bit. And then it goes up and it comes down to this point here. And then it goes out. And this part here is wider. Then it comes into the stem. So then I have the stem here. Then I continue on with this side. I go out. It comes in. And I have this part here. I'm drawing a contour of this shape. And then this part here will go up. It pretty well matches the other side. So I go up as far as this other side here. And then I continue on out to the point. Okay, so that's the contour of that particular leaf. Then I go back in and then I can go ahead and add in the detail. So the detail, it starts at the point, it comes down, it goes out, it comes down to the sharp edge. Then it has a couple more. There's another one right there. A little point. There's another little point here. This comes out to this side. This one here almost stays the same. This has a little dip in it. Then I come around to this side. Get that shape, and up this one. Now this one here has a couple little dips in it. Go up, down. And this side, I can You see the edges are very interesting. I always love the edges of a leaf. Every one of them is different. It's very interesting. You could draw each leaf, and each one's got a different exercise. Then bring this, and this has a nice sharp point, so I'll bring that out there. Okay, there, and it's got a stem down here, or a leaf, a vein. Has a vein here that follows a leaf also. Okay, and okay, so that after you get the contour done, and then you go into and get the edges done, then you've got a pretty decent shape of that particular object. Okay, let's pick one more. It's a little easier. It's a little more simplified. This is shape here. Now, sometimes, let me show you just a little trick I've learned a little bit from experience. Is I can take my pencil here on the right on my drawing pad, and I can take the tip of my finger over here. Now, as I go with my finger around here, I will move my hand in unison with my finger, and I've got this top part. I'll go back here, and now I'll follow this edge here with my finger. Now draw the stem in. And there isn't much going on the edges here, so it's almost a round figure. But there is a stem, there is a vein system here that goes in like this. Now that little technique there of using your finger to follow, what happens is your brain is going to follow the motion. If you move your finger here and follow it, it'll parallel the motion of your hand. So that's one way of doing a simple shape like this, is to use one hand to follow the object, and then use your pencil on the paper to copy that same motion. It's amazing. If you try that a couple times, you realize you can do that on a simple subject. But basically, I would start with a contour outline, and then follow and do the detail edges. That's how I designed these three here. Okay, now this next step, once I get the shapes down, I've got some interesting shapes. Let me take you back to my main overhead camera. Okay. Once I've got the shapes down, okay, now I have to start thinking about the painting. Okay, how am I going to organize these shapes? This first part of the exercise here was to capture the shapes. And you practice drawing the shape a couple of times until you're happy with it. And with a pencil and an eraser, you can sit there and play with it a little bit to get down exactly what you want. You can make all kinds of changes, all right? And that's part of the design, is to get yourself a good shape and then work it, practice it, correct it, make changes to it. And when you're happy with it, then that's good. So, but the next step is, in the design process, is how am I going to put that on to a painting? So what I do here is I'm going to, first of all, I'm going to decide what format I'm going to use. This is a basic landscape format here, which is the longest distance here and a shorter distance here. Landscape exercise. And I took that shape I just did here and I played around with it a little bit. I said, okay, if I see the way the stems are working here. See, the stems are turned, little curve in it. So what I thought I would do is I would combine those shapes like this, and I want to overlap. I want to overlap this with this leaf, and not necessarily here, but I got an overlap there. So I put in the larger shape first, the larger shape, and I just used the contour line. Then I put the second shape in, and I wanted to overlap it here. And then the third shape I put here, and I overlapped it with the larger shaped stem. So I have a design now that has the three shapes, and it has a very interesting little configuration, but it's also in the landscape format. I said, well, what about if I put it in the portrait format, which is lengthwise? So I drew the same shapes in there, the same positions, and I said, yeah, I think I like this a little bit better. There's too much room over here in the corners, number one, too much room. Here I can move it, it's got less room on the sides, and I can move it up and do something with the bottom later on. So this has a much better, more interesting configuration as far as space goes. So as an artist, I'm concerned about the negative space as far as the positive. The positive space is your leaves. The negative space is the space around the outside. And then I went ahead and took this configuration, and I also did a value study. So I make my leaves a lighter value, and my background is going to be a darker value. So that's kind of my design steps as I figure out how am I going to lay the shapes out, and what's my story? How am I going to do it? How am I going to present it? Am I going to present it in this case with a light background or dark background? Okay. So I went ahead and I did a design sketch. So after I've done my preliminary examination of what I want to do, then I did a design sketch. So I took these shapes that I started with, and I went ahead and I redrew the shapes that I practiced, and I overlapped this one, just like I have here in my design step. And I'm going to make this my impact area. Number one, this has more edges, more interesting edges next to this one, and I can overlap this, so this would be my impact area. So what I've done in my composition is I've located the shapes, the sizes I want, the format of a portrait format, long wise and short wise, and I've got a focal point. I've got a focal point already picked out. So that's the steps I go through before I start my painting. And then what I also did was I did a quick color study. I took the same shapes and I played around with what colors I'm going to use in my design. And this is sort of like a brown with green and red and orange and yellow. And this is just going to be another color. So I kind of played around with a little color plan. And I used my Holbein artist color pencils to do this. So that was just my color plan by putting the artist color pencils. Again, give me a quick sketch and also a quick color analysis of what colors I want to use. Okay, now with that in mind, my design is done. So all I got to do now is transfer it. Now transfer the drawing now to a piece of it's a quarter sheet of Holbein watercolor paper. It measures about 15 by 11 inches wide by 15 inches long, and I've located it on the paper where I want to put it. And I drew the design in just like I did from the sketch. I drew it in here the way I wanted to present it. So here's my final product right here. Let me get up close. I can show you this up close. There's the drawing. So that's the results of my analysis, of my shape analysis, my drawing analysis. And then I went through and looked at what configuration I was going to put it in. Okay, so those are the steps I go through to do my designs. It doesn't matter if it's a landscape or a still life or even a portrait. All the same steps the same way. Okay, let me move this aside. Let's see. Okay, so the next step is going to go into painting. Make sure I'm lined up here okay. And my equipment here is I've got my palette here laid out, and I'm going to use my Holbein synthetic brushes. This is a 3/4 inch synthetic brush, flat, and this is a new silver brush, black velvet, number 8 round. Okay, and these are both on my website, everettwatercolors.com. And I've got my color spread out here already to get started. So what I'm going to show you is I'm going to show you how I'm going to paint these leaves. So I've got my design already. So I've got my design. All I got to do now is think about colors and paintbrush. So I'm going to start with this one here, and I'm going to start with the green mix. And it's just going to be green number 1. So up here on this larger shape here, I'm going to use green number 1, yellow ochre, and burnt sienna. Those are the 3 colors I'm going to put in that big leaf, the larger leaf. So let me start out with the green number 1. I'm going to start out with what I'll do here first with a larger brush. With a larger brush, I'll put in the. I'll get started here with a larger brush. I can put in most of the paint that I want to, starting here with a tip. Then I'll take my number 8 round, and then I can go in and do the design, do the close work. So here, the round brush is where I have more control on the edges. So I'll come in here and do a quick add right here. And here's where I'm playing with that design. And here I can even make I can make changes here if I go along. But I'm going to stay pretty well with my design that I've drawn out. So this is green number 1 to start with. And even on the fall colors, you're going to find some leaves that still have a little bit of green in them. By now, they're all brown, so you're not going to find many green leaves at this point. But as you go walking around, taking a walk outdoors someday, just as you see things on the ground, you can collect leaves and really make a nice study out of them. This is really a very enjoyable way to create art. Okay, so now I'm going to change colors. I'm going to go into yellow ochre. So I'm going to use yellow ochre over here on this side. So I'm going to go ahead and blend in those colors together. So I'll start out with a little bit of this yellow ochre here on the side. And I'll pick up my smaller brush. And that's when I'll get in and get my edges. And I'll try to go, I'll go a little bit, try to go just a little quicker here. I just want to get through. This is really a demonstration on how I would apply this, but I want to get the color arrangements. And it doesn't matter if I have green on the brush because they're going to blend a little bit, and the colors on the leaf are not always pure. There's always mixtures. So a little bit of this yellow ochre, mixing a little bit of that green, doesn't matter. The round brush with the sharp point here on this number 8 round does a good job. It gives me a nice sharp point. It holds lots of paint. So now I'm going to use the bigger brush. Now I'm going to pick up a little bit of burnt sienna. Using the 3/4 inch brush, come in and pick up a little bit of burnt sienna. Now I'm going to overlap all those colors. So you're going to find leaves out there that have multiple colors. You're going to find browns and greens and purples. So you're going to find all kinds of colors, reds. So you can kind of come up with your own. In fact, I come up with my own mix here. I'm just coming up with a colors that I like to work with. And going to wet that up a little bit and kind of blend that out just a little bit on those color there. By re-wetting that area, I can mix that color so it doesn't. I don't want to have a hard edge. So this one here, I'm going up around this edge here. I want this burnt sienna, and this is the overlap part. I'm overlapping that one leaf with the first. This is the first leaf, the large one I drew. This is, I think it's a maple. I think it's a maple leaf. At least it looks like a maple. When you go out and look for leaves, if you find leaves, they could be blowing around from the next yard over or from the next street over. You don't know. When the wind blows the leaves, it goes everywhere. But it's just like going to the beach picking up seashells. You have a bag or a box or a basket with you, just like the leaves. You have to carry a bag with you. Take a shopping bag or something. And as you go along, you find an interesting leaf or an interesting color, you pick it up. And then you can bring it back and store it in a storage bag, and it will last for years. And that's what I did. And I have a collection of leaves that I have that over the years, and they're still usable. And I thought I decided I'd use these shapes today to demonstrate this little technique. So you just take your time on the edges here, because this is where all the little points are and the little edges. So you just take your time on that. But that's the part of painting. It's a relaxing effort. I'm taking a bigger brush out here and kind of smoothing out a little bit of the mixture here. Get a little variety. Okay, we'll let that dry. Now I'm going to go ahead and start working on the second leaf here. I think what I'll do is, while that's there, I think I'll give that a little dry. Okay. Okay, the second leaf, what I'm going to do here, now I'm going to use the yellow, red, and orange. I'm going to start with that because it's still wet at the edge here. I'm going to start down here at the bottom. And I'm going to start with the pyrrole red. And the pyrrole red is a very strong color, so I'm not going to use a full strength on this. I just want to have a little touch of red. And again, as an artist, that's your interpretation. It's also your choice if you want to have a dark color or a lighter color. I decided I don't want a real strong red. I want to keep it a little bit medium or light. So I add a little bit of water to it to lighten this color, because I know red is very strong. It comes out very strong color. And it takes over a painting very quickly because the red is so vibrant. Okay, now next I'm going to pick up the orange. This is yellow orange, and go in here and I'm going to blend that in with the red. So I started with the red at the bottom. Now I'm picking up the orange, and I blend it in with the wet edges there. As long as the paint is still wet, they'll blend in very nicely. If the paint starts to dry on you, you have to re-wet that area so it'll blend better. But as long as they're a little bit moist, they'll blend very nicely. That's what they're doing now, blending it in. And I'll take that orange up here a little bit more. And again, I'm trying to vary the amount. I've had a little bit of red, a little bit more orange, and then I'm going to put a lot of yellow. Not a lot of yellow, but maybe a little more yellow. But now I'm using yellow lemon as my yellow color. And I'll stay away from the edge right now because it's still a little damp up there, but I can at least get the color in to show you. I can always go back in later and add that color in some more on the edges, but right now I can get it started. So I just follow the shape. Once I get my design done and get my drawing done, then the rest is just picking out the colors and then working with the brushes. I mean, that's it. Once you've done your design, you're done as far as work. The rest is all fun, the fun part. I'll leave that little white edge here once this other part dries. Okay, the last one I'm going to do is a little yellow one here. What I'm going to do here, a little small one we did. I'm going to have a little bit of green and a little bit of. So my colors on that little oak leaf there was yellow lemon, yellow orange, and pyrrole red. That was on this smaller leaf here. Now the little leaf here, which I'm calling a pear leaf, is green number 1 and quinacridone violet. So this last one, the little one here, I'm going to use green number 1 and quinacridone violet. So I got my green number 1 already out. And my quinacridone violets right over here. So green number 1, I don't need very much because this is a small section. So I'll use the number 8 round because it's a small area, so I'll just use a number 8 round. And I'm gonna leave this stem. I'm gonna try to paint around the stem just a little bit to leave it. It doesn't matter. I can either leave it white or I can go back in and make a dark color. But I think I'll just leave it white for right now. All right, now I'm gonna pick up a quinacridone violet. And I'm gonna mix a little bit of green, and I'm gonna make that. That's a little vibrant, a little too vibrant. So what I'm gonna do is mix a little bit more green in with that. So I got a mixture now. A little bit lighter on the violet. Follow the edges and put a little bit more green in here. I think what I'll do though, I don't want that to cut. I don't want that to wind up being halfway. So I'm going to overlap that a little bit. That color. So just have the tip of this will be green, and that's usually what happens. Usually when the plant or the leaf starts to dry out, and it's still got maybe have a little touch of green toward the tip, and then the rest starts to turn color, reds and browns and oranges. Okay, now as far as the stems, and I think I'll leave that till later. Okay, so that's really the majority of what I did as far as the painting goes. Now I let this dry, and what I'm going to do now is I'm going to paint in the background. But what I did was I'm going to do a portion of this, and then I'll demonstrate it through a demo video I did. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to pick this area up here. So the background colors is basically royal blue, which is my darkest blue. It's almost black. Royal blue. And I'm going to add in Alyssum crimson, quinacridone violet, ultramarine blue, Booker's green, and cobalt blue. So I'm actually going to mix royal blue with 5 other colors as I go around the leaves. I'm just going to start with the Alyssum crimson first in the royal blue. And here's how I do that. I'm going to bring in another brush. This is a number 16 round, and using the 3/4 inch flat. 3/4 inch flat and a number 16 round. These are both Holbein. This is a Holbein synthetic brush round, and this is a synthetic brush. This is a Holbein number 16 round. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take the color Alyssum crimson. I'm going to mix a little bit of royal blue in with that. It's going to be a dark purple. So what I'll do is, with that mixture, make it a little bit bigger, is I start out here at the back side, at the edge. That's a beautiful color. See a mixture of blue, that blue with the Alyssum crimson gives you a beautiful purple. I love that. Okay, then I come in with a round brush, a number 16 round, and then I go in and I do the detail. Very similar to what I did on the leaf. But whereas I did the leaf with a number 8 round, here I'm using a number 16 because it's a much bigger area. So then I go around the outside of that. Okay, that's how I started it. So I do the large area with a flat brush, and then as I come in closer to the leaf, I pick up the round brush to do the detail. So this is to cover, the flat brush is to cover the large area, and then the round brush is to cover the edges and the detail. So I've got a video which I did the whole painting. I'm going to show you that. It's about 5 minutes long, but I think it'll show you. I'll go around the whole painting, and you'll see what I did. So let me put that video on. I'm going to play the video and let you see how it was done. Yeah, I'm going to use the Holbein brushes. I got a number 14 round and 3/4 inch flats. So I'm going to use 2 brushes in order to do the background. And I use the flat to put down the wet background with just plain water. Here I'm using the 14 round, but I'm going to use that to put the color in also. Then I'm mixing up a little bit of Lutheran crimson, which is a red, and adding royal blue to that. You make it a darker red color. All my paint I'm going to put on will be mixtures. It will not be a plain tube paint. All be mixtures. So I put down the color after the water is put down. I put down the color, and then I take the round brush, number 14 round, and this is where I'll go in and do the close-in detail up to the next of the leaf. This gives me a little more control, get a little more accuracy on controlling the paint flow next to the leaf edge. I'm going to continue on around with that Lutheran crimson and royal blue mixture. And this is also got the red against the green, which is a nice contrasting color. Using the complementary color next to the green. I continue with a flat brush and with a round brush next close to the leaf to give me the detail. And that way, carefully be able to do a nice background behind a large surface. Then I spread out the paint with a flat brush to give me a large brush strokes, adding a little bit of water and paint. Now I'm going to change the color. Here I'm going to add the water first to the background. Now I'm mixing quinacridone violet with the royal blue. This will give me a darker violet mix. And using the same combination of the flat brush to put down the water and then the round brush to do the edges. And then continuing on around the bottom of the leaf here with the quinacridone violet mixed in with royal blue. And carefully going around next to the edge with the round brush. And this is a good way to control and give you a nice definition around a large area. So able to cover a large area with a flat brush and then use the detail area with the round brush with a fine tip. So continue on past the middle point here of that large leaf, and then cleaning up around the edge. That round brush does a great job, detail. Now, the next color is going to be, I'm going to use ultramarine blue with royal blue. This will give me another color combination. So royal blue mixed in with ultramarine blue. Start out with a flat brush first to give me the large area to cover with a large brush. Then using the round brush to go along the edges for detail and for control. And picking up some more of that ultramarine blue and royal blue mixture and filling in that area. Using the large brush now to spread out the paint to cover the larger area with a flat brush. And moving into that detail area around that smaller leaf using the round brush. And I'm going to change brushes here. I'm going to use a number 8 round silver brush. And that comes to a fine point. This is good for small areas, and this is the smallest area in the painting. So I'm being very careful here to get the detail along the edge, using that small round brush to get into those tight places. So along with the number 14 round and the flat brush, you cover quite a bit of area. And also, this is the impact area. You're going to have a dark color against a light color. So this also works out very nicely. That dark blue against that light yellow and orange combination there on that smaller leaf. Now I'm picking up the detail along the edge with that smaller brush. Now define the edge with a nice slow stroke, getting the colors in there next to that edge of that leaf. Then picking up the large flat brush and then finishing off the larger area. Now I'm going to change colors again. Wet the area with a flat brush. And I'm going to pick up some Hooker's green mixed in with that royal blue. That'll give me a dark green mix. So that royal blue is being mixed with all the colors. I don't use any colors out of the tube. I always mix them with another color. In this case, royal blue is the mixture with all the other colors. So a combination of the flat brush to cover the larger area, and then moving in with the round brush, number 14 round brush, to clean up the edges. Here I'm putting in a mixture there of water and paint to so the colors will blend. I don't want any hard edges. These are all soft edges, even between the mixtures. Don't want to see any hard edges with the color combinations. Well, the last color I'm using, put in the water first around this one last section. I'm going to use cobalt blue mixed in with royal blue. Cobalt with royal blue. The last blue mixture. And I'm putting blue against those, darker blue against those lighter colors also. Make it pop out. And going back to the round brush to go in next to the edges for details. Coming in close to the edge of the leaf and switching to the smaller number 8 round to finish off the detail. The smaller number 8 round silver brush does a great job. There's a lot of detail, comes to a nice sharp point. It covers that nice small area. Now finishing up the last part here, going along the edge of the large leaf. Adding the detail to the edges. Finishing up that cobalt blue. Now I'm going to do the mixture across that first color. And I need to add a little water to the brush in order to get a blending. So wetting the paper next to that, get a nice blend. Now I'm going to use the dot spray bottle, the palette in the bottle, with just plain water. And these bottles are sold exclusively at Everett Watercolors. Now add the water just as the shine on the paper goes away, as it's still damp enough to put the texture on there. And there's the finished background. Okay, I'm back on live now. That video I put together because I thought it'd be easier to demonstrate that real quickly, speed up the time frame. But this is the end result that I showed here on the film. I got the background in, and the spray bottles were used with the dot spray bottles to give me a little texture in the background. I think that's very interesting. Also, I wanted to point out I had masked out the stems on this one. I put masking fluid on the stems, and I can take that off. You can see the stems pop out. And when I use the spray bottle, I use the light tapping motion, just a little tap on the top. But when the paper is still damp, when the shine goes away, and the paper is still damp, this is the time to add water. And I just a little tapping motion, and it gives little interesting little background. It gives an abstract background basically, and that becomes. And I could use paints also, but I use pure water in the dot spray bottle. Now what I can do with the stems now is I can go ahead, let me finish this off. I can go color those in. I can put a little bit of yellow ochre. I can put a little bit of yellow ochre and kind of put a little color in on the stems. Mixed in a little bit of burnt sienna. Yellow ochre, a little bit of burnt sienna will give me a little brown color, a little bit of changeover. And I can do this one, get a little bit of same thing, a little bit of burnt sienna, a little bit of yellow ochre. Get a little variety. I can even put a touch of ultramarine here, darken this one up just a little bit. Just darken this one up just a little bit. And this one, final, looks like, and I could have made these any color I wanted, but I think this would be more appropriate. Okay, now another more interesting part is the actual stems in the leaf itself. And what I do here is I'm going to use the number 8 round silver brush, and it's black velvet. And up here I'm going to use burnt sienna. And then because I'm right-handed and I want to get the curve, what I find out is that I have a natural curve going this way, so I turn it around because it's not a straight line, it's kind of a curve. So I move it in a position where my arm and wrist motion, and use an arm motion. The wrist motion is too short. You got to use an arm motion to get going. So you find out which way you want to go, and you put it in. And let's see, this one here, it comes from this corner. This one goes up here. And this, they all start sort of in a, it's kind of like a ray pattern. And this one goes out here is the one that goes out this way. This can come off this branch, but I'm going to start here. And you can be artistic with this also. You can follow the actual shape on the leaf, or you can come up with your own design. But basically, this is the way the leaves are built. So realistically, they would look like this. And again, being right-handed, I want an arc over here. And the last one would be, I'm going to make it a little straighter into that corner. And there's even a little one down here. Yeah. Now this little oak leaf down here, which I like, I'm going to use a little bit of red. And I'm not going to use a pyro red. I'm going to use a little bit of alizarin crimson. It's a little darker red, and it shows up a little bit better. It's not as bright. And again, I'm going to put in the main stem here. I'm right-handed, so I'm going to use this motion here. And I'll use arm motion from the elbow out, not the wrist, because it'll short. I want a longer motion with using the elbow out. So I find out where I'm starting. I want to finish over here. Okay. And then I'll pick up this motion here. This is short enough, so I start here. It'll start from the bottom and go up to this side. And this one over here would go out to this side. And I could add just one more little touch here. I could add these major ones here. I could add a little hint that there's a little vein off of that section, just to give it a little, and I can fill in that little blank area. Okay. And this one down here, I can use a little bit of ultramarine down here, make it a little darker veins. And I can start here. Using ultramarine blue. And I can put little veins in here. And they kind of radiate out from the center stem with a center vein. There. Now the last touch I want to do is that there's a little shadow pattern. This leaf here overlaps that leaf, so I'm going to put a little shadow pattern. I'm going to mix up a little bit of ultramarine, a little bit of burnt sienna, and just a touch of quinacridone violet. Ultramarine, burnt sienna, a little touch of ultramarine, of quinacridone violet. And I'm going to put the light coming from this direction, so the shadow pattern from this leaf is going to cast a shadow on the leaf below. So I'm going to put a little shadow pattern in here. This will give the painting a little dimension by putting a shadow pattern. And you can be artistic with this. You don't have to be. It doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to be a perfect copy of the shape that you're shading, but just an idea, a hint that is casting a shadow from that object to one below. Get a few points out there. Make this a little longer. Make it a little more realistic. Okay. And the only other shadow I have is the shadow coming from the little stem here, the stem onto this little leaf here. So I can put a little shadow underneath of this one to indicate that there's a little shadow cast on that leaf there. All right, now let me just put a mat around this. Let's see. That pretty well concludes the painting. We can put a mat around that to make it see what it looks like. I think it looks pretty good. And if I was going to put a white mat around it, so depending on the mat you put on, you can put a darker mat or with a lighter mat. So there's all kinds of things you can do to your paintings to make them different or whichever way you want to show. So my final touches were the veins and the stems. I'm showing a mat board, and I started with the whole process, showing you how I designed this. But let me show you another example. I did another example earlier. And this is the same configuration. And I did a dark background, solid dark background. And I put a white mat around this. And so with a dark background, using a lighter mat makes a difference as far as dramatically showing the subject matter. Okay, that's version 2. Now I did one more thing. Not done yet. I took those same shapes and I created what I call an abstract design. So I took the basic shapes I had, but I didn't follow the shapes itself. I created an abstract. So I made all the round edges. I made them square edges, oblong edges, and this one down here just like it's like a pentagon over here. And I also did a little value study down here in the corner where I wanted to put the colors. And I even thought about what colors I was going to put into the design. So this was a little abstract design based upon the same subject matter in the same format. That's what that turned out to be. So I could put that under a mat. Put that under a mat, and there's what you get. So I think it turned out to be a very interesting painting. And I made the stems straight lines instead of curves. I made a straight line. So I kind of changed things around. I took the curves and made straight lines. And even the background, I made just 3 colors. Okay, a multicolor background. But one thing I wanted to show you here is that I also counterbalanced the colors. I put the blue next to the orange. I put the yellow ochre next to the purple. It's yellow against purple. And I put the blue here against this green. So I did a contrasting color, complementary color scheme as far as the background is concerned. So those were some options that I think that you could do with any kind of subject matter. And here I just used the simple matter of leaves. Let me take it back to my main camera. Okay. All right. Okay, that was a design demonstration of how to take a subject matter, a simple subject as leaves, and find some decent shapes that you like. I like those shapes, so they turned out very good. Then let me turn this light off up here. You get an extra shine with that overhead light. Overhead light good for painting, but it's not good for talking on the main screen. Just take those shapes and come up with a design, and then from the design, put it to a painting, and then look at what colors you're going to use and so forth. And it's part of art. Art is very individualistic. It depends what you're in the mood for. It depends on what your ideas about the art is, what the subject matter is, how you think about it, and so forth. I gave you a couple options there. What I did a realistic painting almost, and I did a semi-realistic, then I did an abstract. So there are all kinds of ways to do a painting, and I try to give you a couple options here. So I hope you liked the demonstration today. And the tip I gave out was contour drawing. When you draw, just draw the basic outline, the contour. It doesn't matter what it is. It could be a landscape, it could be an animal, it could be a person, it could be a still life. Draw the outline, the contour, and then go back and add in the edges. It makes the drawing much easier and much simpler. And it gives you a control of the size of the shape, the attitude of the shape. Do you want it vertical or horizontal? Do you want it angled, and so forth? So the contour drawing is the best way to go and the best way to start. Okay, I'll be back again next week, next Thursday at 2 o'clock on the 13th. Let me check the date. Yeah, 13th of January at 2 o'clock. And I'll see you then.